in the chat what you're doing. As you enter the room, don't forget to drop your name and your district in the chat. That's how we take attendance. And just some feedback for us and for your colleagues regarding that opening question. We really would appreciate that.
I can't get access to chat.
You can access the chat. I don't know who that is. Faye, could you tell who that is? Susie, good afternoon. Drop your name and your district in the chat. Is that you that
Yes,
can't
ma'am, I
access
will.
it? Okay, great. Anna, good afternoon from the beach. How are you? Stephanie, good afternoon. Jamie, I see you've joined us. Good afternoon. Welcome. Lisa and Kershaw and Laura, they've tuned in. Welcome, ladies. Justine, welcome. We're going to start in 2 minutes. Y'all drop some feedback to this question in the chat and scroll up to read what I think right now the only person we've had enter some text is Chad, and he's at the very top of the chat. So scroll up and read what his district is doing. Christina and Alicia, welcome to you both. And Chad, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to just hop on the mic and just give us a global summary of what your district is doing regarding all of these vacancies and this learning lag that we know our students are
Sure, no problem.
confronting. We appreciate it.
Oh,
Chad, wait.
well,
We just want to start right at 2 o'clock so we can make sure we have as many people on.
oh,
We don't want to miss Crystal. Good afternoon, Crystal. If you have not done so, please go ahead and enter your name, district in the chat. It is 2 o'clock. And we have our, so welcome, first of all, to the April virtual office hours. We are so glad you're here with us. My name is Dr. Hartwell. I'm joined by our awesome effectiveness team, Dr. Vicki Troffler, Dr. Kim Howard, Beverly Flythe, Ronnie Evans, Faye Colley, and Lila is going to be popping in with us as well. So on behalf of the team, welcome to all of you. Thank you for dropping your information in the chat. Just as a reminder, please make sure that you're eliminating background noise during this webinar and turn your microphone on mute until it's time for, when we ask folks to share out. We'd love to hear your feedback at that time. So throughout the webinar, you're welcome to use the chat feature to share your reactions. If you want to drop in some questions for us, Dr. Howard is manning the chat. She is lickety split on dropping in responses, so please feel free to use the chat feature to get your questions answered. And of course, to pose questions to your colleagues in the room. We'll take time to answer questions as a group at the end of the presentation. So don't worry if you don't have an opportunity to ask it as we go through. I did want Chad to just hop on the mic and share with us ideas or strategies that his district has considered to ensure that students have access to high quality teachers while we're really struggling with the number of vacancies and of course this learning loss that our students are facing. So Chad?
sure. Thank you, Dr. Hartwell. I appreciate it. We're just like everybody else. I mean, we already have a ton of vacancies for next year. There's not a lot of people to pick from out there right now.
Okay.
But, one thing that we're doing is we have been working since Christmas looking for people and going ahead and offering some contracts where available instead of waiting until close to the end of the year. We're on the modified calendar anyway, so we really have a very short summer. So
I
that's
see.
something that impacts us tremendously in trying to make sure that our staff is full, because we don't have the long summer that a lot of people do. We also work with our local university, Lander University, and we've probably got about 14 or 15 intern teachers
Oh,
this semester alone that we are working with. And, um, we're doing everything that we can to try and keep them in the fold for next year as well.
hmm
And for those of you that maybe have never used an intern teacher or worked toward an intern certificate, they're basically doing that in lieu of student teaching. And so that's something that's really helped us in filling some of our voids. We pay stipends to some of our better teachers, especially at the high school level, to teach during their block off. But it is a very good stipend. We've got a formula that we use. And I'm sure a lot of people do that. I mean, that's not something that's new. But we also attend multiple recruitment events as well, as often as we can, especially anything fairly close to us, to try and recruit people and get those best teachers. I mean, we're not doing anything really, I don't think, that other people aren't doing. But, right now it's just really tough. And I'll get off the mic, but I'd love to hear what anybody else is doing as well.
do we have one other who can just jump on the mic and briefly share something that maybe Chad hasn't already mentioned? He's already talked about a lot of those best practices. Anything else out there toward the innovative side of how you're addressing not only the shortage, but how to ensure you get high quality teachers for all the students, right? Anybody else? Thank y'all for dropping your names in the chat. We'll come back to this. You can always share your best practices with the members of our team. And if you want to get feedback on a practice, Lila is a wealth of knowledge. And we can always pitch this question again during another office hours once you've had a chance to kind of process. But thank you, Chad, for jumping on the mic and sharing. Let's move forward and look at the agenda for today. We do have a jam-packed agenda. We are going to share a few updates surrounding the 2022-23 ADEPT plan. Then we're going to move to some ADEPT and sclead.org reminders, some SLO updates, and we're going to end today by sharing several updates regarding human capital training opportunities, right? And some professional learning and support information. And we'll end today, as we do every office hours, with one frequently asked question and then an opportunity for you to ask some questions that may be on your mind. So first, on the next slide, let's start with the ADEPT plan. So can you believe it's that time of year again? I can't. The good news about the ADEPT plan is not much has changed from last year's template. But to avoid edit requests from our team, that's what happens. You submit it, we review it. If we have to kick it back to you, we kick it back to you and you do the edits and then turn it back into us. So to avoid some of that back and forth, we'd like to share a few tips and reminders about completing the 22-23 ADEPT plan template. So on the next slide, let's just start off with the due date, right? So first, the plan must be submitted in sclead.org by June the 1st, 2022. Just as a highlight, as a reminder, that date falls in the middle of the week. So please plan accordingly. It's not on Friday. It falls in the middle of the week, so please plan accordingly. All districts have to submit their plan inside sclead.org. You may not submit a paper copy to us. We are going to share a Word version of the template at the end of this section. I'm going to drop it in the chat. But that Word version is for drafting purposes only, not for submission. All plans must be entered in sclead.org, and that's for both import districts, alternative aligned model districts, and of course those of you who are using sclead.org to manage the entire evaluation process. For our new ADEPT contacts, and as a reminder for everyone, the ADEPT plan has 3 section types, and so those are the 3 boxes surrounded in black that you see here on the screen. There are required sections, sections required if it's applicable to your district structure, and sections in which you only have to provide text if there was an update from the prior text entered in sclead.org. So you'll know which section is which by the page header. So when you're working on a page in the ADEPT plan, please pay attention to that header at the top, and you'll see it in parentheses. If you're on an update only page, and you'll see that's the third block down, if you're on an update only page, be sure to tell us which plan to reference for the text on that page. So if it's updates only and you don't have any, you can leave that page blank. But you do have to refer us back to the year where the applicable text is, okay? You'll do that by selecting a year from the drop-down menu, and you'll see that menu here highlighted in gray. Just click on that. Don't leave it blank. You have to click in, choose an item, and then drop down to the requisite year, and we'll go back and read that text just to make sure that everything is still copacetic. So if you wrote text, and this is just like a little teaser for our new folks. So if you wrote text for induction and mentoring programs and nothing has changed since you entered that text in 2019-20, just select 2019-20, and that will alert us, your ADEPT contacts, to review that year's text. If you are new ADEPT contacts on the line, if you're new and you're unsure of what was entered, just go back and take a look at the 21-22 plan and see what year was selected, right? If the page is blank, check out the year. Then go back to that year and review that text. If something has changed or a process is new, we do require that you fill in the page. But if nothing has changed from the requisite year the referenced year that you have identified, you don't have to fill in text on this page. If you're unsure of what you submitted, just go back to the year you referenced in last year's plan and take a look. You do have access to each year's plan to review if something has changed or not. All right, so that's our first reminder. Okay, here's our second reminder. So this is around section 1. This page should be very familiar to you who submitted it last year, so we only have a few reminders. First, when you select the evaluation instruments in the top box, only select that locally developed model if you have a model that's been approved by the Office of Educator Effectiveness, okay? Otherwise, you need to select the one box under SCTS and the 3 boxes under ADEPT 2020 for special areas. So you're only selecting locally developed model if you've already been through the review process with the department and you already have a model approved. All right. The next reminder for section 1 refers to the scoring approach chart at the bottom of the page there in section B. If consensus scoring approach is selected for induction and continuing formative contract levels, you have to remember to remind your evaluators that they are still required to complete consensus meetings, okay? And you don't have to remember this. There's a note at the bottom of the page in the ADEPT plan. The system will not allow evaluations to advance if that consensus meeting is not entered and signed, even though there was only one observation conducted for, say, the preliminary or the fall cycle. So even though you're selecting consensus under induction, you still have to have a consensus meeting. So just want to bring that to your attention if that's what you're going to select. Finally, I just want to encourage you all to make your selections very carefully on this page, section 1. This is a required section. Once you've created one observation record for 22-23, you can't change anything on this page. We can't change it. Randa can't change it. So make sure that you're selecting the contract levels and the scoring approaches that you can live with, okay? All right. On the next page, this is another required section, section 5. We have a few reminders here. First, answer all the questions, right? That's always been a kickback for us every year. So make sure that when you review section 5, if it's a question mark, you need to type an answer after that, okay? I'll draw your attention to the gray box under the prerequisite section. Each question in that box, and you'll see the lines that are single space, each question in that section requires a response. If you don't provide a response, we're going to kick it back to you for edits, right? And that's just more time, more time. So on the front end, make sure that you're answering all the questions. While this document can be updated during the school year, please provide us with what you believe is a realistic timeline, right? You can always edit it, but on the front end, provide us with a realistic timeline and ensure you have at least 45 days in each 45 days in each evaluation cycle. That's for your timeline. Let's look again at section 7. All right. The reminders here is simple. We are bound by statute and regulation to ask you these questions in section 7, right? We're bound by statute and regulation to collect feedback each year on your evaluation, induction, and support system. So please make sure you're answering all of these questions. We care about your feedback. Be sure to share any best practices, but as you do that, make sure that you're filling in each one of these, giving us a response for each one of these questions. The last set of reminders, and you should be breathing a sigh of relief because we've not covered anything new, right? And that's good in this year of constant change, but we've also not edited or revised the addendum, and that's on the next slide. The addendum request is still the same as last year. As a part of the continuous improvement data we're required to collect, last year we started asking districts to look at the ADEPT Human Capital Report, found under the reports in SC Lead. We started asking you to look at that pull and look at the data in the Human Capital Report to reflect on how your district can put systems in place to assure that all students across schools have equitable access to effective teaching, kind of like our opening question. We know that access to effective teaching is the most critical, the most influential school-based factor in a student's growth and achievement. So your feedback on these questions is so important to us as a team. We want to assure you that this data is not going to be used as a gotcha. It's not used to highlight the district or schools in a negative way. We use your feedback to develop resources and to drive our conversations about how we can support you. We also use this information to develop training opportunities, right? Like this year's Talent Metas webinar, a direct outpouring from the data that we saw in the feedback from last year. So your candor is welcome and it's appreciated. So we look forward to your feedback. I am going to go ahead and drop the link to the Word version of the ADEPT plan here in the chat box. It is going to ask you, do you want to save a copy? You say yes, and you're going to save it to your local desktop, to your own desktop. So you don't have to wait until the ADEPT plan is live in SC Lead. It is not currently available. We are going to send out something either most likely in our newsletter, or you'll hear from your ed associate when the ADEPT plan is live in SC Lead, but you don't have to wait on that. You can go ahead and start now by using this Word copy. Just understand you still have to cut and paste and put all of this information back into SC Lead. But you've got fewer pages to do that if nothing has changed from last year to this year. All right. I am now going to turn it over to Beverly, who's going to talk a little bit about ADEPT implementation and some reminders for SC Lead. Beverly?
Thank you, Dr. Hartwell. Good afternoon, everyone.
Beverly, I'm
Yes.
so sorry, but before you jump in, there was a hand from an audience member, and I don't know if it was directly referencing what Julie just covered and if it was something we need to address right now. Cherie, did you have a question for Julie?
I do. On that section where it talks about the consensus approach and the SC for the South Carolina teaching standards, and can you go back to that slide?
Are you referencing section 1?
Yes, where you do the consensus and versus the average approach.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, up under there, and this may be a silly question. What about, would there be a distinction, because, you know, for the school counselors, And I think the speech pathologists and all of them, they have to have the consensus approach because we do the average approach for all of the teachers. Will that impact that section?
So you're doing average for everyone else, and because the model really calls for it, consensus for your special area.
Yes.
Okay, that's a good point. I'm not sure how to do that. We're
I
going to talk
think
as a
it's implied that consensus is what you would check if it was there for the special areas, but that asterisk at the bottom implies that that portion of the evaluation would be consensus anyway, even if you're average for everything else.
Okay.
That's a
I
good
think we've
point,
got
Beverly.
one more
We'll
question.
if anything's different, we will get some feedback to you, okay? But that's a great question. Thank you for that. Daniel.
Sheree, that item B on that is only addressing SETS 4.0 anyways, so it's not addressing special areas.
Okay,
That's a
thank
good point.
you.
Thank you, Daniel. You're absolutely right. Thank you. All right,
Okay.
crisis averted. Daniel, you want to lower your hand? We want to make sure we're keeping anybody else's hand up.
I'm trying to find where my hand goes down.
We have one hand up. Is that not right, Kim? Somebody else?
There we go.
I believe it was Daniel was the last hand. Let's.
Okay. If so, we'll come back. Thank you, though. Beverly?
Okay. All right. Just wanted to let everyone know that we are thinking about all of those that were affected by the storms yesterday, and you are in our thoughts and prayers if you're in the path of these that are coming today. Now, let's get started with a few reminders. When reviewing the Evaluations tab, remember that the bubbles can help you see progress at a glance. First, note that skipping the SLO will fill the bubbles as shown in the first screenshot. The Educator Student Growth Status bar inside the evaluation will also show 100%. Don't be alarmed if you see no in the SLO report, as long as you know this educator skipped the SLO. For districts using the ADEPT flexibility for doing walkthroughs in the preliminary cycle, note that the walkthrough does not fill in the observation bubble. The educator's observation status bar inside their evaluation for the preliminary cycle will fill to 100%. Next, note that the continuing formative evaluations for educators with a preliminary observation entered that rated proficient or higher for each indicator, the observation bubble gets filled. Within the educator's evaluation, the final cycle observation status bar will show 100%, even without entering a spring observation to reflect the 21-22 flexibility. Lastly, when you find educators with no bubbles filled at all, dig deeper. Are they truly being evaluated? If so, they need to sign their orientation and have their evaluation progress entered. Could this be an accidentally created evaluation record for an educator that is not in your district? In such a case, make sure to remove the evaluation record and locate the educator in your school staff list. Edit staff details to no role and not evaluated. Auto completion. What does this feature do? It completes all eligible open evaluations for the current academic year for classroom-based teachers, school counselors, school librarians, and speech language professionals who are on a GBE evaluation under a continuing contract. It sets the overall status and recommendations for the evaluations for the following year to continuing GBE, met, rehired, if not already set. We listened when you asked for us to delay that beginning. So auto completion will begin on Friday, May the 13th, and continue every Friday through June the 20th. This feature allows ADEPT coordinators to focus on educators who are not met and may not be rehired the next school year. What about educators without SLO scores? Classroom-based teachers' evaluations missing an SLO rating or score will not be completed in the auto feature. And a few special areas reminders for continuing formative special areas educators who meet the requirements to skip observations in spring. Remember that the school counselor's student growth and school counselor plan and the school librarian's school library plan conferences must still be held and signed by the evaluation chair and the educator in SC Lead in order to fill that bubble for the evaluation. Don't forget to send your exemplar school library plans, school counselor plans, and student growth goals to me at bflythe@ed.sc.gov. Feel free to redact or change any identifying information for privacy purposes if you so desire. And then I will be glad to take any questions at the end. And I'm handing it over to Rodney.
All right. Thank you so much, Beverly. And before I get to my SLO updates, I just want to share a pic there in the chat from a very special program this morning over in Lexridge 5 at Dutch Fork Middle School, where a teacher there, I don't think it shared. Let's see if it came up. I think it went that time. But we awarded, or the Milken Foundation awarded Leslie Snyder the Milken Award, and that also came with a $25,000 check. So we're excited to have been a part of that this morning. All right, so here are some updates with the SLO process.
Rodney, did you drop a picture?
Yes.
I
sure
don't
did.
see it. I don't know if anybody else can see it.
I can't see it.
Okay, I won't worry about it. Maybe I'll share it at the end if I can get it. It just
Thank you. That's great
populate.
news. That was
Okay.
great news.
All right. So here are some SLO updates. I've already shared these with the SLO contacts and the district adept contacts. This is just a reminder to please ensure that all SLO observations and summative conferences have occurred before the date set forth in your adept plan, which should be before April 30th. Also, if an educator does not meet the SLO business rules for attendance and is incomplete on the SLO, please use the skip SLO feature and make note in SLE.org as to why that SLO is incomplete. And according to our SLO business rules, districts also have the autonomy to allow the educator to have a shortened SLO interval if the educator is present for less than 85% of the SLO interval. We do not recommend giving an SLO rating of needs improvement if the SLO was impacted by a teacher's attendance, such as leave. And we've seen that on a few cases where the district has said that the educator, was not present due to leave, and they still gave the rating of a needs improvement. Understand that will impact the overall rating, right? A 2 or a 1 and a 4. 1 will decrease it by 0.25 and a 4 will increase the overall rating by 0.25. So we want to ensure that the educators have a fair rating with the SLO. One more bullet there on that last slide. Yep. For classroom-based teachers, and Beverly pretty much covered that on her section. Just remember for classroom-based teachers, the SLO score has to be there, or the skip SLO must be present for that auto completion to take place when we start in May. Okay. All right. The teacher leadership goal. Of course, we started that on this year, and we just want to be able to get some feedback on the teacher leadership goal in order to make the process more meaningful for teacher leaders as well as evaluators. So at this time, if there's anyone who'd like to share or offer any feedback, feel free to post that feedback in the chat box or on the mic. Any feedback that could be beneficial for our office or any other districts that are present, today. There's anyone?
Hey, Rodney.
Hey, Daniel.
Listen, I got your email about the TLG. I am addressing it. I hadn't quite yet gotten your feedback. I'm putting out we piloted this year so I could get some more information. And so I'm getting feedback from that. I actually took your survey and integrated some of that into my survey. And so I can get decent feedback about the teacher learning goal, but it's coming. But I will say that it was very warmly received by the teachers. But again, I'd like to see all that in the data, but that's what I'm getting informally.
All right. Thank you so much. If anyone else wants to chime in or share in the chat, that'll be great. I'm also just going to go ahead and send you the link for the survey. You can complete it when you get a chance. I'll drop it again at the end of our time today. Are there any questions on the SLO or the TLG before we move on to our next section?
Rodney, I'll point one out from the chat. Orangeburg is interested in knowing what other districts are using for assessments for elementary age students, just because MAP is a little difficult for the SLO process, and that's something that they've been using. So if anyone wants to jump on quickly and just share an assessment they might be using with their elementary schools.
Well, we've been sort of gearing the process again to the progress monitoring by the classroom-based teacher. Though the MAP may be a tool to inform an SLO as data that is consistent along with progress monitoring, we don't write SLOs that are uniquely and specifically dependent upon that type of data. So I don't know if that helps. I did see the chat question from the district. I don't know if that helps any. But I do get questions from principals that will ask, well, what about the MAP? We use MAP, or what about, what about the MAP? And if we're wrapping up the SLO, and I said, again, it could inform your SLO, and it can inform your SLO after the fact. Even if you completed your SLO and you're getting some sort of finalized test data, like even like at a high school level, like an end of course exam, that could say how I was doing on my progress monitoring. It's not necessarily part of the SLO process, but it could inform it as after the fact data.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just chime in right here, Daisha. One thing that we do recommend, I don't know if you had an opportunity to attend our school leader training, SLO training this summer, and I will invite you again once we post our professional learning opportunities for 2022 to sign up and register for the SLO school leader training. But we highly recommend for districts not to use assessments such as MAP for that particular reason, that the data does come back a lot of times after April 30th. So what we recommend is that teachers look at informal assessments and other type of assessments where the data would be ready in time before contract decision purposes. I can also reach out to you later and just share some of the resources on some of the type of assessments that we recommend and those that have been shared with us here at the state that districts are using at the elementary level. We do have a list of those.
Kathy has also mentioned in the chat iReady for elementary schools. Dr. Taylor, I don't know if that helps you or not.
No problem. And lastly, and before we move on to the next, Angela, as far as the TLG go, you'll just use that section 2 up under the SLO. Okay. And for the PGDP, that section, are you familiar with it? Right. So that will be the section for the TLG. All righty. If no further questions, I'll pass it to my next colleague who's going to talk to us about professional learning and support updates. Any questions for SLOs, you can hang on after we finish today, and I'll be glad to assist you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rodney, and thanks so much to all our colleagues, Danny, in the chat, some responses to help our colleague, Daisha. So thanks, Kathy, as well. So for this section, we'll go over the professional learning and support updates. First, let's recap what the Professional Learning Library, or PLL, is. So some of you are familiar with the term PLL, but I want to make sure that we are all on the same page when we say that we are referring to the Professional Learning Library. So our agency is pleased to provide districts, principals, and educators to our new online PLL to support personalized professional learning of educators and school administrators. Research-based instructional and leadership resources are aligned with the domains and indicators outlined in the South Carolina Teaching Standards, or SCTS, and the Program for Assisting Developing and Evaluating Principal Performance, or PADEP, leadership standards. So these resources now include videos, courses, and mini courses. Let's just go over quickly the PLL's progress timeline. So you'll see here on the next slide, all right, the timeline of how we have been working on this PLL. So looking from left to right, we went through the internal process of procurement from May to September 2021. Then we went through the design of the system and review of content from October 2021 to February 2022. We then released the PLL for preview to districts in February. And so next, we will be offering professional learning opportunities for users from April to August 2022. We really encourage that districts begin using the PLL for academic year 2023 to personalize learning and support teacher growth and effectiveness. So for the two internal phases in blue, our office specifically aimed to procure a better set of resources. In the past, we were limited only to a library of videos and some videos that may offer reflection questions, so it wasn't quite consistent. The new PLL resources have courses and mini courses tied to the PADEP standards, SCTS 4.0 rubric domain, and indicators. There will be reading and reflective activities that are embedded in the new PLL's courses and mini courses. So we now have a wider variety of videos, which include topics such as virtual teaching and social emotional learning, just to name a few. So as we transition from the previous provider of the Professional Learning Library to PowerSchool, the Professional Learning Library in SCLEAD.org will continue to be unavailable. So we do get that question quite frequently, like, why can't I access the videos in SCLEAD? This is because of this transition period. So before we go over the professional learning opportunities, let's go over the different PLL users so you know who needs to get trained. So you can see on this slide that we have PLL District Technical Support Contact, PLL District Administrators, and Educators. I won't be reading this slide to you, but I just wanted to reiterate that in March, we asked districts to provide a district PLL technical contact. We said that this person may be you as a DEP coordinator or someone else. So we leave that choice up to you. We also mentioned that this person does not need to be a tech whiz. The district PLL technical support contact will learn how to support frequently asked questions and how to create support cases for PowerSchool when needed. So the other kind of user is the PLL district administrator. So again, this may be you as the ADEPT coordinator or someone else, and the choice is yours. The PLL district administrators will need to learn how to access the PLL, how to assign courses and mini courses, how to search the video library, and learn how educators complete courses, and they can track the progress and pull reports inside the PLL. So a person may function as both the PLL district administrator and PLL technical support contact. All right, so here on the next slide are our PLL district administrator and PLL district technical support contact training dates. So one PLL district administrator and one district PLL technical support contact from each school district is required to attend. We want you to be able to support the educators in your district. So the PLL district administrator and PLL district technical contact, if you're not the same person, we highly request that they attend on the same training day so that they can provide the support to their district users. So the session for this type of training is from 1 to 3 p.m. for PLL district technical contact, and then 1 to 2 p.m. for the PLL district administrator. So registration for these trainings close 10 days prior to training. The assigned training logistics person from our office will communicate with registered attendees to prepare them for training. So I'll drop the registration link in the chat. If you have issues opening any of the links I shared today, please copy and paste it in your internet browser. It might not work using Internet Explorer. So thanks to Dr. Hartwell for testing that for us. So just giving you a heads up about not working. So let me just in the chat as you look up the dates. All right. We will share training dates for educators in the near future. We just wanted to make sure that we have these first set of dates for the PLL District Administrator and PLL District Technical Support out to you as soon as possible. All right, on this next slide, we mentioned to you that we had a PLL pilot preview in February. So this PLL Q&A session is specifically designed for attendees of the session that we held on February 28th, 2022. If you were unable to attend, but you requested the materials from me, I forwarded the resources to you. You are also welcome to attend this PLL Q&A session. So we put this together because participants may have questions after exploring the PLL. We do have a few requests. We request that you fill the Q&A form to help our partners at PowerSchool and Education Impact plan for this session. We also shared a survey link that we hope you will continue to fill as you explore the PLL. So that one was called the PLL pilot survey. So that's embedded in one of the slides in the resources that we shared. So I will be dropping these links and then turning over the mic to Dr. Hartwell.
Thank you, Faye. I just really want to reiterate the importance of the team attending together if it's two different people, and for you to go ahead and claim your 2 spots or 1 spot in the training, because the dates will fill up quickly. I cannot express that enough. You're going to have access to this massive library. And we have curated courses that align to each one of the indicators that a principal or let's say you're a mentor can work with their mentee and assign a deep dive right into our indicators. So this is one of our strategies we're using to further explore the rubric. We just didn't want to give it to you and then just back off. So I hope that the information that we've shared has kind of whet your appetite for this new PLL. We think it's a stronger product in terms of just how much more it aligns to what teachers are doing every day, their area of reinforcement and refinement. They're going to find resources that link tightly and closely together with reflection. So please go ahead and for your districts, make sure you're claiming your seats as early as possible. So thank you, Faye. Another support from our office is our Talent Matters webinar series. I talked about it a little bit earlier. You and your district, you as well as district colleagues, have asked that we offer more support for thinking about staffing, recruitment, and retention. And through these series, these webinars that we've had, we've deeply enjoyed working and learning with folks from across the state who've been able to join us. So in March, we shared strategies for welcoming and supporting new teachers. One of our key takeaways is that new teacher support has to involve the district, the school, and the mentor together. The experience for onboarding in a district, as you know, starts before a candidate is even hired and continues throughout at least that first year. So the tool included in this slide, and I'm going to drop it in the chat box. The tool that I'm about to drop can help your district team reflect on your current new teacher experience and how supportive, personalized, and streamlined it currently is for teachers. So I'm going to drop this link from our March talent webinar series. You're all welcome to take a gander. If having time and space to think together about how to support the human capital work of recruitment, development, and retention in your district sounds good, you haven't had a chance to join us, we do have one more webinar scheduled in April. We'd love for you to join us. Feel free to bring other members of your team, other folks from your districts, whether they're in academics, instruction, we have spaces available. Our Human Capital Academy partners are going to be leading this work, so you're going to get a chance to hear directly from the experts. And they're going to be leading this month a discussion on supporting school leaders, right? How do you work from the leader standpoint with recruitment, staffing, and retention? And that's going to be on April 27th. I'm going to drop the registration link in the chat in hopes that you or someone from your district can attend. I've been to several of them and they are very informative. You get a national view as well as regional and local feedback. So I think it would certainly be well worth your time. So here's the link to the registration. I'm going to turn it back over to Faye for a little more reflection. Faye?
Thanks so much, Dr. Will, and your call for them to register quickly was heard loud and clear. At least 30 people have registered already as they came through my email. So thank you very much for being so proactive. We just have great people that we serve that are also so ready to serve educators in their district. So on the next slide, you will see a screenshot of the new newsletter that you'll be receiving from us starting this month of April. So we shared in our March 2022 effectiveness newsletter that we are changing the format and release process of our effectiveness newsletter via constant contact. For those who may not be on our recipient list, but you believe should receive our communication, please forward the newsletter to them. Please also let them know that a link within the new newsletter is available for those individuals to register as newsletter recipients. So it's hard to read here, but on that screen circled in red is the text that says join the mail list. That's it for me, and I will now turn the mic over to Dr. Howard to lead us in group discussion.
All right, so in just a second, we would love to hear what questions you have. Before we do, I do want to share one FAQ with you that we've gotten. And the question is, are SLPs, our speech language professionals, required to complete a special area evaluation if they are ASHA certified? Well, our guidelines state that South Carolina speech language professionals on a continuing contract who maintain their ASHA certificates of clinical competence are not required to undergo the SLP continuing formative evaluation. Again, so if they are maintaining their certificates, they do not have to complete the continuing formative evaluation. As a district, you may choose to evaluate them using that model. That is totally at your discretion. Formative evaluations are not to be confused with summative evaluations. These evaluations are formative and are designed to provide these SLPs with that comprehensive feedback related to their practice for professional growth and development purposes, similar to with the teacher process. So summative evaluations are required as it propels them in their path towards certification. These continuing formative evaluations are really a pulse check for us to get kind of an understanding of the impact these educators are having in those classrooms and what feedback they need from us. So for those of you who had that question, we hope that this has answered that question for you. Before we hear your questions, I do have one more kind of an FAQ that's not really a technical FAQ. A lot of you have seen some issues in SC Lead in your results page over the past couple weeks. I know I've been in communication directly with several of you who had questions about that, and we have been in constant communication with our team at Randa just to kind of address those things. And we have received word that those scripts, whatever that means, have been updated and that you guys should be good to go, that your results pages should be clear now. So you should be seeing that those SLOs that were skipped, we should see a met or not met for those evaluations. We should see those scores calculating correctly at this time. We should see that professionalism is actually being taken into account when collecting those results. So if that is not the case, and if you are still seeing something, please just let us know. But we are told that those things have been worked on and that those should be cleared away at this time. All right, so what questions do you have? I think we've addressed everything that's come up to this point in the chat or on the mic. Are there any other questions you guys have looming?
Dr. Howard, this is Mrs. Boozer. I have a question about mentoring. Where are you guys in terms of the bulk upload for mentor hours?
We released that a couple months ago, Cherie. If you'd like, I can kind of send you what we shared, but that is something that is available to be done, the bulk uploads.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Hi, Dr. Howard. I just want to make sure I'm understanding the rollover that the system does, that auto completion. So the people who are not going to be rehired, or if they are moving to continuing formative, I need to make sure that I update those. But all other continuing GBE, you're saying the auto completion will automatically roll them over to continuing GBE rehired met?
That's correct. Everybody on continuing GBE with an SLO score will automatically roll over. If there is someone that needs a different result than the continuing GBE met, then you will need to go in and manually change those. So the majority, of course, are going to be that continuing GBE met, but for those who are not in that majority, you will have to go in and manually change those.
Okay, so I put my signature on as the district signature, and then those other 3 questions I could leave, and then the system will take care of that, is what you're saying.
Or if you don't sign it, the system is automatically going to touch those so that you won't have to go in and do that extra step of signing.
Oh, so don't sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So the intent is that it gives you those less, so you can focus on those summative and formative evaluations. You don't even have to worry about that. The system will close those out for you using that autocomplete feature.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's see a couple things in the chat. What's the latest on raising the cut score for the 4.0 evaluation? That's something that we are not yet ready to tackle, Angela. I know that it is a conversation that I think was pinned until the next school year. So we are not currently at a place where we are discussing that, but we do know that that's something that's on the table. All right, I'm trying to understand Kelly's question in the chat to participate in ADEPT 101.
Kelly, can you jump on the mic and maybe just expound really quickly?
Yes, ma'am. Bobby Bear is the one that handles all of our ADEPT admin. He, I guess, is the ADEPT administrator for our school. And through multiple conversations since the beginning of the school year, I've been working with him, and we've both been, doing all of our ADEPT online, through SC Lead. Well, there came a time where it was requested, if I could get the admin ADEPT administrative checkbox, so that way I could work alongside him, at a separate time to get all of our ADEPT stuff accomplished in SC Lead. I don't remember exactly who, but I took the ADEPT 101 course and had the approval to do that. Well, in the midst of contacting SC Lead, they guided us, how to do that. But because I'm an instructor, we are unable, or I should say he, or our staff here on campus was unable to check the little adept administrator box.
Yeah, I'll take a look at it for you, Kelly.
Okay, because I follow him, they're a classroom teacher, and we've emailed SC Lead, and they've informed us to get with our adept. I'd have to go back
Yes,
and look at the email.
I'll take a look at it for you, Kelly, and
Thank
I'll
you.
email you before tomorrow morning, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, thanks, Kelly, and thanks, Dr. Hartwell. All right, Alicia said, can the counselor evaluation be streamlined to move those evaluation conferences into observations? It's adding an extra kind of layer of work for you guys, apparently. So it is definitely something we can explore. It's not something that we've been aware of as a need, but it's definitely something that we can talk about now that you've put it on the table, just to see if it flows with the evaluation process and how that would work. So that's definitely something we can take into account. I don't know how it would work or if it will work, but it's something that we can look at, because they do have to ask those questions during the observation. Let's see. Cheryl said, I would like to train our mentors on how to use the PLL in our mentor PD at the beginning of the year. Which training will I need to do so? Faye, you want to address that? Which PLL training Cheryl will need to attend in order to be able to train others?
Sure, Dr. Howard. Dr. Warren, I would highly suggest joining the PLL District Administrator because it's a high-level training where you'll be able to, as mentioned earlier, figure out how to assign, and also there'll be like bulk assignments, so you can have later on your own training with your mentors on how to specifically get them to use the system. Also, your mentors are welcome, of course, to attend an educator session in the future. But I would say for you on your end, have that higher level of training that oversees the system.
All right, thanks, Faye. Alicia asked if there's any word on SC Educator updates to allow us better access to certification info. I don't have any word on SC Educator updates, and I don't know if anyone from the team has heard anything differently. Anybody heard anything about updates to SC Educator?
Dr. Howard, just from the grapevine, this is not official. It was my understanding that they were pushing it this month in April because there are things that need to be done prior to switching out from their old system of the certification portal, but that is very unofficial. As far as we know, they are pushing for having the SC Educator live on the certification side this month.
All right, thanks for sharing that. Any other questions? And Rodney has dropped in the chat for you guys the recipient of the Milken Award. And Rodney, you'll see a message in the chat for you as well, some follow-up with Orangeburg.
Yes, I'll do that.
I got a question about the PLL. Faye, has there, or anyone, has there been, other than through the route of OEELD, to those that are in comparable roles like myself, evaluator, coordinators type of thing, has there been any other route of this professional development tool communication from the state level to districts? To
Hi,
give
Dana.
context to that, whereas in my district, I am a very large district, and we are a top-down hierarchical type of system. I'm pushing this back up into other departments to ask to see if we can get other people aware of this tool. And I'm just unsure if there's been any other deliverance of communications about this other than through the routes that we've had through the pilot, through the OELD newsletter, and then today's session.
Hi, Danny. Thanks for that question. So right now we are doing an internal process of getting the official memo out. And so that will then be communicated directly by our communications office. Similarly, I believe they're using the Constant Contact platform. So if you've been receiving memos from the communications office of our agency, it will specifically say those list of things, different sets of memo, and who the audience is which audience is targeted for each of the memo. So for PLL, and we're very excited that you want to push it out. So we do have intentions of utilizing other ways to communicate directly to educators. We are thinking through our social media and also on our website, our agency's website, kind of like in the past when we tried to encourage educators to join for our teacher webinar. So hopefully those other routes will get the communications out for educators to join. As you know, this is an optional thing, and we're excited that you are pushing it out so that teachers know that they can personalize their own learning.
Well, and again, that's not my role in my district. You know, I'm not the professional development guy in my district. I'm not even housed in that department. And so I'm pushing this back upstream in order to get consistent district communication. And I'm pleased to know that there's going to be a memo coming out, and there's going to be a target audience. I hope that target audience includes more than the those that would manage evaluation and effectiveness. I hope that the target audience would also include professional development departments, because that really should be the chief target audience. And again, you know, we've already kind of talked, the three of us talked about this, you, Kim, and I, about, yes, I'm all on board, because if it's part of going to be SE Lead, it's going to be part of which it helps the schools to help their educators. I'm all on board. I'm going to help, and I'll be able to do all I can. But it is intended to be, if everything I'm understanding, a professional development tool, and that's not my role in this district.
Thanks for clarifying that, Danny, and for all that you're doing. So what I'm hearing is that it might be good to include in the official audience the professional learning coordinators. And I see some nods from Miss Angie, Miss Letitia, Lee, lots of nods. That's all that could fit my screen that I could see. So I will definitely bring that back to our director. I think that's not going to be too hard to add that in the audience, but we do have the internal process of getting our memo out there. But thank you for suggesting that. We'll make sure that that's greatly considered before it's officially sent out.
Well, and if I may add with that, seeing those dates now, you know, I'm glad there's the July training and the May training, but you know, there's a timing on that as well. So you know, they're already going to, by the time that gets pushed out, we'll be past April training. And but I'm just throwing that out. But
Thanks,
I
Danny.
know you guys are on it, and I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And that's just for the PLL and district level training. We'll have later dates that are available. We've been in great consideration of the teacher's schedule. So there's going to be something, I think, later on in the August, September. I have to look up the actual memo, but there's going to be something that's going to be in the fall for them. And the educators, as described earlier, would cover other educators that's outside, you know, of the district, coaches, school administrators, mentors. So everybody's welcome to the educator training.
What I was gonna, can y'all hear me? Good. I agree with you, Daniel, but I also think just sending it out to multiple people, you have different people hearing the same message. And sometimes that, number one, hearing it more than one time makes it a little bit more impressive on your brain. And number two, if that same message is coming from multiple different departments, I think it sends a stronger message, and it allows for more consistency across the district.
Thanks so much, Trish, for that additional feedback.
We can also include it on the global announcements page. As I hear you speak, that may be something just to pique the interest of teachers as they log into their individual SC Lead accounts. Maybe put something from the state on their on the announcements page. So thank y'all for sharing that. Our brains are cooking on this end, so we'll figure it out. Thanks, Trish. Thanks, Danny.
All right, so we are beyond 3 o'clock, so we are going to go ahead and do our official closing. First, just by thanking you all for being here. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Hartwell, but if there are any additional items that you need to talk to us about as others start exiting out, then just go ahead and hang out with us here while we close out. But I'll turn it over to Dr. Hartwell for our official closing.
Thanks, everybody. I officially say goodbye to you. We will see you next month. We'll see you next month. Go ahead and drop any questions you have in the chat. Otherwise, stay safe. Just take care of each other, okay? We appreciate you.
I do have another question. We
Yes.
actually are rolling out Professional Learn as a district with our own PD embedded. So we have a contract with PowerSchool. And when we attended the training for professional learning, we asked if there was any way the two could be connected so that we didn't have to have separate logins for both. Was there any discussion of that, or do you have an update?
To my knowledge, we do not have an update yet. Faye, do you?
I don't have an update, but I want to make sure that I am responding to something that I understood what the scenario is. Are you the district with a separate instance of having your own professional learning already procured from PowerSchool? Is that the scenario?
That's right.
All right. I think, Megan, they're still looking into that, but we definitely have you under the radar, and I'll make sure to take a note of that as well today so that we can check on the progress.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hello,